Good evening, everybody. We're going to call our meeting to order. This is a continuation of the area planning meeting that we had on June 8th. And first thing we're going to do is roll call. Denise, you want to
Do roll call. Cindy,
hear?
Tom,
Here.
Eric,
Here.
myself, Paula, here, Attorney Redlin, Farce, sorry.
Here. Okay, thank you. Next item is the minutes from the June 8th. Has everybody had a chance to look at those?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Eric.
I'll make a motion. to approve.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the
Who
minutes.
seconded it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. Okay, right now what we're going to do is I'm going to turn the meeting over to Ms. Bars here, and she's going to continue with the followation of the meeting that we had back in June, where we're presenting our fors or against, or we're discussing what we're going to do with the school. So Ingrid, take it away.
Okay, folks, we got a lot of you here tonight, so here's how we're going to do this. We're going to go straight into public comment as a continuation of the June 8th meeting. For public comment, we're going to follow Robert's Rules of Procedure. If you want to make a comment, please give me your name and your address for the minutes. Public comment is going to be limited to 3 minutes each, just so we can keep the ball moving. Please keep it courteous and respectful. Duplicative or repetitious comments might be asked to wrap it up early if it's already been said. So try and be mindful of that. After we've gone through public comments, the applicant will have 5 minutes to rebut anything that they feel that they need to. After we get through public comment and any comments from applicant, we'll go through findings of fact. And after the end of the findings of fact, the planning commission will make a favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation to the city council, who will rule on it next week. Okay? All right. So we'll start off with public comment. Does anybody want to start?
My name is Sue Ward. I live at 505 East Washington Street. And I've lived there for almost 50 years. And this is going to be right in my front yard. And I'm against it. I have lived here in Attica, like I said, for my whole life. I've contributed to Attica. I've always bought things and done things here in Attica. And I was Sunday morning, I was trying to drink my coffee on my patio in the back, and I could hear them all the way out there at Fablands. So what's it going to be like when they're across the street from me? Okay. But anyway, and I just don't think it's a good thing. Not for our community. I just don't. And you're always worried about the younger generation and what they're going to do or not do, and worried about keeping them happy. What about us that's been here all these years and given it to Attica and been there for Attica, and it just upsets me very much, because would you guys like this right in your front yard? All these people. And I'm sorry, I'm sure not everybody's like this. I'm sure they're not. But the only time that I have had an interaction with the guys from out there, they're all younger, they're rude, they're crude, and they're terribly disrespectful. Just last week and a week before, I was in downtown and they were making fun of a lady walking across the track, or walking across with a cane. And I go, hey guys. And they're like, hey guys, back at me. And I just don't care for them. They're just, but anyway, it's my time up.
You've got 1 more minute.
1 more minute, okay. But I'm against it. I'm afraid, is it gonna affect my property value? And I worked my whole life, you guys, come on. And I just wanna sit on my front porch and drink my sweet tea and be quiet, nice, quiet neighborhood. I had the grade school across there, but that was like 20 minutes twice a day. And they're quiet, they were little kids, it was no big deal. These guys have already been up and down and up and down, and I'm just afraid of what, I want to know how many people in Attica actually use it. I know he's got a lot of employees from Attica that's there, but I would like to know how many people in town actually use it. They're all from people that are out of town. And they don't really care about Attica, I don't think, except for going out there and having fun. And drinking their beer. So, and, okay? You know, if I have one more thing to say, and then I will be done. I have already had one child killed on that street. I have. And I do not want to see another. Thank you.
I mean, this meeting tonight was for you to voice your thoughts about this, so we're not gonna
Yeah.
We're not gonna say anything up
It's
here.
just
You
whoever
just
says, yeah.
Yeah, there's no set order.
Brett Robertson, 500 East Monroe Street. Been here for 5 years, but before that, I spent 21 years in another town. After I moved away from here in 98. Okay, now, the noise. Noise ordinance in town is 10 p.m., right? So we get to hear this in our neighborhood until 10 p.m. And if it's on the street and it's a legal vehicle, say somebody throws plates on one of these things, we can hear it all night long until 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning. Usually these things do not have proper mufflers on. I know I ran one that was open headers when I was a teenager. And that was when it was a gravel pit out there. So we get to hear this all night long, possibly most weekends. For me, when I was on second shift, that would be horrendous. Because we come home at 1 o'clock in the morning, get up, say 2 o'clock, and then we get to hear it. I'm on day shift, thank goodness. Now, working 7 hours of 12-hour shifts. So then I got to go in at 5 o'clock in the morning. If I'm only getting 3 hours sleep, because these guys are running up and down the streets until 3 or 2, it's not fair to me. Plus my property value is dropping because of the noise. Nobody wants to live next to an airport. These engines will probably be just as loud as an airplane. That's all I got. Thank you very much.
I spoke the other day, but I want to add something to, my name's Chad Kurz, live at 519 East Washington Street, and I want to add something that's come up since then. So everybody's asked, what's another idea? What would we like to happen? And I've spoken to most people that are sitting here, and the community thinks a great idea for the area would to be to zone the road, everything connected to the road. Basically, where the school is would be zoned R1 and remain the same, which would allow residential housing to match the housing that's across the street from it. We think that would be a great idea. We also believe that the school, most likely structurally, as Mr. Nossip stated in the council meeting last time, is pretty much about ready to fall down. I think it should go ahead and be replaced completely. That would allow us to do the R1. Behind that, exiting out to the highway, we could do B2, which would allow all the business district stuff that you want to do, but would put it on the highway side and keep it off of our side. The football field, I think, is kind of the way the community feels. It needs to maintain to be part of the community. as public access, and I know there's interest by Bi-County Soccer to purchase that, and then they would maintain it, and we do have vandalism issues and things like that up there. But once we get somebody in control of it, and they definitely would like to have it, that would be a good thing. That would maintain the football field, which is donated to the community many, many years ago, and has been fought for more than one time since then to maintain it. And then the R1 in the front would maintain our district and our residential area and keep the traffic out of there. It would be a great solution. And then you would still get your business district. And we would like to propose that as a community to Mr. Noss if he's wanting to do that. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Some of you might know, some of you do. My name's Don Gaylor, and that's the first time I've ever been in front of people to speak in my life. So I might be good and I might not be good. You just have to bear with me. Now, I'm
sorry, can you give us your address, please?
709 East Jackson Street.
Thank you. Good.
And I would like to say that I lived in Attica all my life, and I'll be 88 years old in a few days. I've lived there all my life, probably longer than anybody's been in this room. I'm just guessing. And I love Attica. I'm going to be here the rest of my life, I hope. What I like to say is, I met Kyle about 3 months ago. And part of that, I haven't known him. As far as that grade school, with everything I know, is it should not be tore down, and he should be able to do with it what he wants to be doing. And in my opinion, it'll help Attica. And like I said, I lived here all my life except for 3 years. I was in Germany for 3 years serving in the United States Army. I got discharged out of there with honorable discharge. I've been in Attica ever since. I just want to make my statement. I support him and what he does, and I think he's done good for Attica, period. Thank you.
My name's Tim Keppel. I live at 913 South Brady Street. Let's go back in time. In the late 90s, a gentleman named Mark Gustus purchased property next to Badlands. He wanted to put in a campground. Had a meeting up here in City Hall. The police had to stand by because the residents were so upset that it was going to increase crime, it was going to decrease everybody's property value. In 2016, Kyle and them took it over. During that period, didn't see any crime increase from it. The city council does not own the property and cannot legally dictate how it's to be used or to sold. Just like any other private property, the citizens must follow state laws and zoning regulations. There have been multiple proposals since 2022 in public meetings by the school board, including housing apartments and other developments, to the school board. Unfortunately, many of those opportunities have passed, and the building has sat vacant for over 2 years. Closing the building is continuing to deteriorate, costing the schools tens of thousands of dollars, which ultimately costs taxpayers. The discussion about the grade school did not happen overnight, nor was it pushed through a system without public involvement. In the spring of 2022, the school administration held a public meeting that was advertised in the newspaper and on social media, asking for input of the new grade school and what to do with the old elementary school. I was one of those people who attended. I was also one of the people who attended the 2 other meetings that they had. 2024 construction started on the new elementary school, another public meeting was held at the school discussing the use of the grade school. Now let's fast forward to May of 2025. School board held a public meeting. There was 2 developers there. One was Ironside. They was requesting tax abatements, TIF financing, and a few other things. There was another gentleman there. He just wanted to write a check for $600,000 and put in apartments and townhouses. But the school board by law has to wait 1 year in case the charter school wants to buy it.
Mr. Campbell,
Okay, I apologize. Basically, in a nutshell, is this has not been secret. It has been out for several years. It was brought up the last meeting, I watched it online. It said they have to do all this. In the state of Indiana, if you have a class 1 structure, which is a commercial building that's going to have the public in it, you cannot get a building permit until you submit your plans to the state of Indiana and they review it. And who reviews it is the state fire marshal's office. So all these other statements made that they got to do this and they got to do that is false. Lastly, I want to say this. Nostalgia and emotions are powerful, but it cannot guide established processes. Our community needs and wants change. And without investment in redevelopment, our community will continue to decline. Lastly, I've had 2 developers that's been interested in coming to Attica. And they have told me that they're not interested anymore. And the reason why is, if we're going to do that to somebody who's lived in this community for 20 years and make an investment, what would they do? Would you want somebody to come in, buy a bunch of buildings, don't do anything to them?
Mr. Campbell,
So I'm done.
thank you, sorry.
Shake your head. Go ahead.
So I don't know, Don, if he's still here, but I agree with him. I don't do this talking stuff.
Name and address, please.
Todd Plumer, 507 East Washington Street. Comparing this proposal to the project, easy to see what I tell you. Comparing this proposed project to when the school is operating really is an accurate comparison. The school was busy for at the most an hour before, hour in the morning, hour in the afternoon, and that was about it. Drop off for the buses was on the highway side. Didn't affect our side of it. We really didn't, cars were all lined up. It wasn't a big deal. Comparing it to football games, I don't know. 3 to 4 football games a year. We've lived there 23 years. It's not a significant thing to the neighborhood either. When we bought our home, we knew we were buying a residential neighborhood next to a school. That was a choice we made. However, if the property had been zoned B2 commercial at that time, we would not have chosen to live there. If we had wanted to live next to a business district, we would have made that purchase somewhere else. The people who live here today chose the neighborhood because it is residential and because it is quiet. You are now being asked to take that away from us. Like Chad said, the compromise to make the front R1, back B2, that would be fantastic as far as we are concerned somehow. The proposed wedding venue or event venue on the football field, I don't believe that's something the neighborhood needs. Wedding venue in the Badlands sounds like a great fit. A venue in the middle of a residential neighborhood with the possibility of loud music on weekends doesn't sound great to me. McDonald Park has been mentioned, but we can barely hear events from there from our house. I can almost guarantee the speakers from the football field during event weddings and whatever will be heard at our house. If someone wants to say the speakers stink, well, I'm sure those will be upgraded. Finally, I want to make one thing very clear. We do not want this school building to sit vacant or deteriorate. We intended the school board meeting with the apartment proposal we discussed and with everything that had been put in front of us at that point. We were genuinely interested in that idea. We support finding a productive use for this property. We simply believe it should be done in a way that respects the residents who have invested in the neighborhood for decades and preserves the residential character and that brought us here in the first place. Thanks.
Jody Alduff, 115 Sherry Lane. I live directly behind the football field. I've been there for 15 years, and I don't want to see anything happen in the football field here. I hear a lot about community, and to me, a community is somewhere that everybody can go do their thing, and I've seen weight loss journeys. I've seen elderly out there rehabilitating. I don't want to lose that. I just don't. You know, if it's going to be for the soccer field, that's fine. Let's leave a track. Let's leave something that the community can use. That's what I'm asking. I don't want to see it go. I don't want no venue behind me. That is what it is. You know, everybody wants to talk about growth, but growth comes from community. You got to have that community. That's part of our community. I see a lot of elderly. I see a lot of kids learn how to ride bikes. You know, I see everything out there. There's deer out there. The people stop to watch the deer. Fox. I don't want to lose it. That's my opinion. Thank you.
I think I still have time, right?
We got like 30 seconds.
Okay. I'm getting better at it. One more thing, like, I gotta remember what the heck I was gonna say. So the whole purpose of the project and for the town is to bring people and kids into the community. I don't think hotel and short-term housing is what we need. We need long-term housing. That's the only way to make AHS more profitable and better in this whole community better. I did forget that.
Please, Patrick.
What's your last name, I'm sorry? Back.
I moved out here in 2009, bought a house,
Put your address, please.
201 Western Road. Since I moved here, I watched the town progress, you know, grow. We got the cases down, this and that, and this end of town, which was nice. But like the last gentleman said, right now, we need housing, places for these people to go. The trailer park got closed, most people had to find apartments. Apartments right now in this town are 1,000 and up for an apartment, which is ridiculous, honestly, but things are just rising way too fast. And, I mean, he has done a lot for the town. Yes, anything he buys, he turns it into something that brings people to the town. But the football field should be left alone and used for sports, whether it's turned into a soccer field or anything like the other gentleman said. With the schoolhouse, we need to do something with it, otherwise it's going to sit for another 10, 15 years empty. So that part, I understand where his venture wants to go. But then we're still going to have the problem of the hotel. What happens to the little motel down the street? Does that end up getting closed because this one's going to be nicer, fancier, more up to date? I heard there's supposed to be a bar and a restaurant in this, right? Didn't you want to try the restaurant thing here in town? Twice, actually, right?
I gotta wait for you.
Oh, okay. The restaurant thing keeps trying over here where the rooster used to be is right now. And that building's been empty since he closed the restaurant way back when. We got enough empty buildings in this town that need to be fixed. Let him do something with that building. That's the only thing I see. The only other problem is our taxes are going up in this town. Some people it's doubled on already. I mean, the town's losing its little town feeling. I mean, it's in Lafayette, it ain't Crawfordsville, it ain't Danville, or Indianapolis, you know? Let's not take that small town feeling away. Let's try to keep it there, okay? Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, my name's Leanne Edwards. I live at 306 East Washington Street with my daughter. And I respect everything that everybody said here tonight. I realize most of you guys are lifers, whereas I've only lived here in Attica for 3 years. 2 years on McDonald Street, 1 year at my current residence. And I just like to say, I've heard everything you guys said, but living in the location where I live, as far as the noise goes, I don't think that that being put in would create any more noise than what we already have in the location over here on 41 and Jackson Street. I mean, it is like the busiest intersection and noisiest intersection in all of Fountain County. And there is, on the weekends, there's constantly cars, loud trucks, Harleys, you name it. And I'm not complaining about that. I live there. I've adjusted to it, but I'm just saying that if we live in that vicinity, those of us that live there, I mean, you have to hear the amount of noise. And I understand that everybody's worried about their neighborhood, and I live there, but I don't feel threatened by it. I feel like that.
Can you address the commission just because the microphone's having trouble picking your.
I'm sorry.
Can you address the commission just because the microphone needs to pick your comments up so
Oh,
it can't
okay.
hear you when you turn?
Okay. So anyhow, I don't feel threatened by this coming into the neighborhood. I don't feel like it's going to affect what already goes on in the neighborhood. On the street we live on, I mean, I can't tell you how many semis go up and down Washington Street, down to the county market and back up to the highway. So we have all of this traffic, we have all of this noise, and I just feel that, I don't think that it's really gonna make that big of an impact on the neighborhood. But like I said, I've only lived there a year, and some of these people's lived there their whole lives, and I realize they feel differently than me, but I just wanted to voice that. Thank you.
I'm shy, I really wasn't the same thing, but I'm on the same page as Chad. I'm sorry, Sheila Lucas. I lived in Warren County my whole entire life, except for the past 4 years, but I've been a property owner in Attica for 30 plus years.
I just need your mailing address.
1000 South McDonald Street.
Thank you.
So I think it's a wonderful idea to improve by having the business that he's talking about, as long as we can have the backside as residential, because we are definitely needing residential. We're completely out of room. We have no places for people to rent. We have nothing. If there's one thing, there's 20 people after the one. So I'm in favor of leaving the backside for residential, to keep that the way it already is, and then the front side to be like a booming business, because our town needs that. So that's all I have to say.
My name is Dan Barossi. 206 M2 Street. And I'm a little bit new to to the area, sorry. Little bit new to the area. I've had the privilege of kind of assimilating and getting adopted into the small community that they're referring to. I grew up in a big city, so big change, all of that. It's one of those things that I just kind of see and you roll with. In my humble opinion, what you guys have here in Attica, which I am so excited to be a part of, is something that you can give on a bigger scale. And what I mean by that is my parents come to town maybe once a month. And it's not so easy to find a place to stay and have my family come. So, I know that's a me personally type thing, but for an area to grow, sometimes change is tough. And I absolutely love the small town feel. The family that I've been lucky enough to get into has given me that feeling. I love going to the football games. I love being a part of this community, but it would be great to see a little bit more happen. And not saying it needs to be on a grand scale, but I guess from what I would just like to say is I've only known Kyle for a very short amount of time. Very, very personable, has always seemed like he wants to do something well and something for the community. And I can only support that and hope that everything he wants to do is going to try to line up with the community, me being a part of it, but also I have to understand that resources only come from so many places. And to have somebody want to put something like this into a community that you can be so unique and have the small town feel, but have something to offer to bring people in is just amazing. So however it's decided, I just think it's a fantastic idea and just support what you guys are looking to do. I do understand what everyone is saying, so hopefully we can find a middle ground, but it would be great to be a part of it. So I look forward to seeing what.
Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? All right, we're gonna.
Reiterate what the use is for.
One second. Okay. So, wait a minute. I'll say, hey Pat, are you okay running through what you're going to use each part for, or do you want what it's going to be used for, or do you want the zoning changes? Okay, so we'll do that when he does rebuttal here in a minute. He'll go back through instead of, because me telling you it's going to be, instead of R3 to B1, that doesn't mean that much. I think it'd be more helpful to hear what it's going to be. Okay. Okay. So we're going to move on. The applicant's going to have 5 minutes to address any concerns. Then we're going to start going through the findings of fact for the rezoning. Okay? Okay.
Let me start. I know I got to speak to you guys, but I kind of want to thank everyone for coming out first. I understand this is a difficult situation, and I frankly didn't want to put anybody in this position. I honestly expected a little bit, neighbors, I respect them, like I understand. I've been working very hard in trying to address a lot of these things, and I feel bad that you guys have to be in the position that you're in, and I feel bad for the city council. There's a lot of strong emotions on both sides. I prayed on this tremendously, on guidance, and I want to be truly transparent. No matter how you guys vote, one way in or out, I'm still soul searching prior to the meeting with council. I've talked to a lot of local people, influential people, a lot of people that have strong influence and vision for this town. And it is challenging. We as a town right now, we're in a tough spot, right? And some of the questions that came up through this is, how do you know it's going to work? Okay, I need to be fully transparent to everybody in this room. There is no guarantees. There is absolutely no guarantees. Have I had businesses that have failed? I want to slightly disagree with the restaurant thing. There's other factors in that we're not going to get into. But yes, I have had businesses fail. I think any entrepreneur, they're going to fail at some point in their lives, and that happens. So I am not standing in front of you guys, and I'm not standing in front of you guys saying that this is a guaranteed success. Next thing that has kind of come up is, what's the full scope of this project? And I can say a vision that what I'm presenting, but there has to be flexibility in this. And I brought this up at the last meeting, and I think I need to reiterate this. This is a time where you guys and the city council at Monday, you guys have to decide as a city whether you want to lean into tourism in the Badlands or not. And I truly respect all the concerns that came in. Can I guarantee that there's going to be no noise? I'm going to tell you guys, and I'm going to tell you guys, no, I can't. Is there side-by-sides that are going to drive on the roads? Yes. And this is a tough decision where you guys have to decide if it's something you want. Is there going to be Rolling Stones concerts at the football field? No, I can tell you that. That's not what our intent is. It's to produce a business. So there's a vacuum in a building. Okay, there's a vacuum in the center of our town. We have to try to figure out. Can you let me know when I have like a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a vacuum. We have to figure something out. Part of me, honestly, wants to step away from this and let everybody breathe. The things that I think needs to be honest is the school board. There is, I think Tim brought up, there was no behind the scenes. There's no that. People have come in and everybody has walked away. Okay, I was the only one that was willing to put my money where my mouth was. Okay, my family's a big part of this. It has caused tension, not between us, but like people that we've associated with, and it's never been our intent ever. And I want, long after I'm gone, I want my daughters to be proud to live here and have a place they're proud of. Guaranteed, don't want to create a monster that they're not proud of and that they're hated for. That's one guarantee I can give you. I've been to zonings, football field. Basically, it is to be an event center, so an event area, and we have to keep it flexible for parking and things like that. So that's where the business side of things come in. The hotel is the second floor, so that's the main aspect, and it's the 35 to about 35 rooms. The first floor, facing the road, is the commercial space, to put commercial suites in there to draw businesses that would help and benefit from tourism and hotel sides. Can I tell you? Can I tell you exactly what that's going to be? No, I can't. The project needs to be fluent. I want to circle back to Badlands. When Badlands first started, I'm trying to pick up. No one thought that was going to work. I guarantee, not me, not Troy, no one would thought it been what it is today. God has blessed us and has continued to bless us. I don't know what the future holds. I can't promise every aspect of this project. It takes a gamble. It takes, and that's the biggest thing I can say. We live here. I'm trying to do a good thing, and I apologize again when I see that everybody. The community aspect is to pull everybody together. I never wanted this to pull everybody apart, and sorry about that. And we're gonna do what we can to pray and figure out the best way to handle this. So that's all I got. Okay.
Yeah, you're right on time.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Does the planning commission have any questions, final questions for the applicant?
I do.
Yeah, fire away.
Would there be any possibility that you would deviate from that plan?
Here's what I would say. I want to answer the best that I can. The price that I paid for the project, I have to stay pretty solid on that plan. I am more than willing to kind of step away, because there's school board, there's a lot of moving parts. So I would say yes if there's this, but the way I presented the financial aspects of it, like, I'm laying in on the building and I'm laying in on the property, so I have to be able to use the property.
I guess specifically, a lot of them here seem to want like residential housing, some apartments, things of that nature. That's basically what I'm asking.
So there was on this side of the football field, that was part of potentially of what we wanted to do is that row house. But I can say that to feed the hotel and feed that project, I can't do the football field without being able to tie that into the commercial space. And again, I know you guys are in a tough spot, and I know everybody's trying to make everybody happy.
So does that mean structures will be built on it?
Well, so the residential side and
No, on the
so
field. Or is it going to be more open?
it's supposed to be more open and like again, I talked like it's the last this project. There is everything works on paper, and you have like when you get a project of this size, like here, you know, and I've talked to other people. And it's like you can try to do this in Delphi. You can try, I need to be real. The Badlands is not Delphi. That's 150,000 people that these small towns. So if you just look at this, the project does not work. If you start bringing in tourism, it now becomes potentially a viable situation. And so, like, that's where the vet field side of it, like, we need to be able to host things to draw people into the hotel, if that answers your question.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
You have a lot of events out at the Badlands. So when you have an event, I know people in town that have booked cabins out there for loved ones that come visit, and they paid for it ahead of time, and then called like a week beforehand and said, "I'm sorry, but we have to cancel you because we have a big event this weekend."
Yep.
Is that what's going to happen with the hotel as well?
So are you asking me? I'm sorry.
Are you going to block off anytime there's an event? Are you going to block off all the rooms so that no one has access, or is it going to honestly be accessible to all of Attica?
Well, here's what I would say. As an entrepreneur, I've got to fill those rooms. I want people to stay. That's just so. If you know, there's a local resident that books wedding, we're going to block out the rooms. There's no Badlands. So it's whatever. It's a dynamic thing of whoever's booking rooms. For example, and I'm not trying to sell this, but like I'll use Purdue graduation. We almost book out our stuff, Purdue graduation, for Purdue because they book almost a year in advance. So that's the type of dynamic. When your houses, it's just whoever books first.
But that hasn't been the case previously with cabins.
Sorry.
That has not been the case previously. I know people that have had bookings out in the cabins and have been called to cancel.
Yeah, if we're booked, it's just whoever books first.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's just the way things go. It's like a jar of milk at the grocery store. It's whoever gets there first.
Question about the elementary school structure, and I don't know how deep you've gone into investigating and inspecting everything. Do you have a really good idea of what all's going to need to be done and how much that's going to cost? My follow up to that is, then do you have an exit plan if it gets, hey, this is way outside of what we thought, you know?
That's a tough question. Have I spent a ton of time in that building doing my best to do due diligence? Yes, I have. Right. I think anybody that's in construction and not here, not even like I'll use the Wiggly building. You know, you get into any building of that size and age, you are subject to problems. Here's what I would also add. Part of because one of my original concepts for this was also adding some residential elements. And the thing that you run into is when you start having to pull walls apart, now you start changing the structure of the building. That's where all your structural engineering comes in. Like our plan is not to change the structure of the building. We're using almost every existing wall that's there. So basically, like in a classroom, for example, we're not even changing like this. The room itself is set to be like if you divide it in half, it makes 2 hotel rooms. So we're not changing either walls. But we have to, essentially, to get the biggest viable, true plan, you have to go in and start demoing. And it is a risk. I need to say that straight. It is a risk. I think anybody, Chad had brought up that I said the building was horrible. I do not think the building is horrible. I think the building is solid concrete. Concrete does not rot. It's there. So from that aspect, I don't think that. But I would say that, the building's in a turning point. Water is the enemy of everything. And, if something doesn't get done within, and anybody can challenge me on this, and we all have opinions, but I would say if something doesn't happen within a year to 2 years on that building, you're in a tear down phase. It's closed now, and part of that's just project costs. In most applications, it's cheaper to build from scratch. This is a challenge. It is. I'm not telling anybody, that's why I don't want to be in your guys' spot. This time I'm glad to be on this side. And I get it. And there's risk on my side, there's risk on everybody's side. I'm not here to sell, I am trying to be probably a little more honest, not honest, but a little more probably negative than I have been in the past, because we all have to believe in it, one way or the other.
With that building, that's not negotiable.
Here's what I would say, is if you guys, the project that I've pitched as is, has to be everything. Okay? And that's just what I would also say is, and like I said, no matter how you guys vote, I've been listening, I've been keeping, I did polls, there is a lot of division, and I will not be the person that tears this down apart in any way. And so I may walk away prior to Monday, depending on how all this goes and more stuff I hear. The thing I would say is that doesn't mean I'm moving. I'm not leaving Attica. I'm not, right? So if we hit the reset button and the school's like, hey, we'll drop price, we'll do this, I may come back into something. But for what I've offered to pay, I've got to have the whole.
Okay, that means that the possibility for that building, is a building that you will or will not possibly have other outbuildings, or
I don't have that property built out. I don't, because for that, it has, so the building's 100,000 square feet. And when we looked at budgeting and everything like that, we plan on remodeling about 50 to 60,000 square feet, just from what's that? Upstairs and front end. Okay, and part of that is we need to see how this project works. Here, housing. I look at Brian. Right, Brian has a different vision, and I support that. Right, housing's a different thing. It's static. You tear the building down, put all to put housing in there, tear it down. You would build. That this is different. You're using something existing there, so it is a different challenge.
All right.
So event center would be the gymnasium that's currently there. That would be indoor stuff, weddings. So that would be outdoor weddings, things like that. Anything from corporate outings, family get-together. I mean, any aspect that would be recreational based to draw people in. There's not anything in my plans to build a structure there other than there's a couple parkish type renderings that we've done to kind of utilize the space, but it's so far down the project that. Okay. So large scale concerts, that's not our side of it, right? We have an entire concert area out there, but define a concert. Is a church having a band and people coming out? Is that a concert? To me, no. So would I say that there would be music there? And yes, I mean, there's a corporate alley has a live band. That's not a concert. So I'm not asking for concerts. Is there going to be music played? Yes.
Hang on, we gotta move on into findings of fact. I mean, this should have come up in public comments kind of thing, I'm sorry. But this is it, normally we don't allow the public, again, this comes from the commission. So, I'm gonna read these off, we're gonna go through.
I have a question. I was talking to your dad about the idea of a which means that it would go through all of that building would sit empty for a year. It would revert back to. That's what we do something like that. That's what.
We could do something like that, but I mean, that's kind of.
Well, he has even started, but it's just a matter of. It sits there and nobody's in there, so.
But I mean, like, what defines on us? We would have to wind that down.
The business part of it would be.
Yes, it is.
Well, I think it would just be.
Because that's what the council decide. You guys are just making it favorable or unfavorable. See what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. I know your dad is saying you can't say conditional on such and such, but he said other than that, we can cover your.
Yeah, we can put that in the thing, the city council can take it up, you guys would give it to it.
Right, right. I just didn't know that we heard of that condition you're saying that.
It's supposed to be favorable and favorable, but we can put notes in there, I suppose. So we're gonna go through, we've got some spots to fill out, so.
So what if we do no?
Huh?
What's the no recommendation?
So she makes no recommendation, you guys don't feel favorably or unfavorably about it, and it'll go to the city council to decide ultimately.
Don't be a wuss. Don't be a wuss.
Was.
A fence rider.
I'd like to talk to you.
What?
Yes, I would like to talk to you.
We have questions about procedure, and then we're getting there. All right. Advisory Plan Commission of Attica, Indiana, findings of fact on petition for rezoning / amendment of zoning maps. We'll go through this one first. Schoolhouse Properties LLC having petitioned the, if I read too fast, yell at me, because I do that often. Having petitioned the Advisory Plan Commission of Attica, Indiana for an amendment to the zoning ordinance, amending the zoning maps of Attica, Indiana, and the same having come before the Advisory Plan Commission on the 8th day of June 2026 and the 9th day of July 2026. And the Advisory Plan Commission of Attica, Indiana, having heard evidence and testimony thereon, the following findings of fact will now be made. So we're gonna go through this one by one by one. We'll vote on each one individually. 1, the proposed zoning amendment will or will not adversely affect the current conditions and character of structures and uses in each district in the following particulars. So, depending on how the board wants to vote, you would make a motion that it will not adversely affect current conditions and particular characters, or it will affect, and then provide detail. This is what the council is going to review when they're making their decision based on your recommendations.
So we each fill this out?
Nope, I would say somebody will make a motion. So somebody needs to pull the trigger and say, will or will not adversely affect the current conditions and character of structures.
So we're just talking about the structure itself.
This is changing the zoning to allow him to do what he wants to do in there. So will the hotel and the event center and the commercial space will or will not adversely affect the current character and conditions of the property and the property surrounding it, I guess.
They were saying no structural change is going to be made.
And this is not just the structure, this is the whole parcel, the whole project.
Okay.
This is the rezoning, it's not just the building permit.
Okay. Maybe we can just go through and read each one of these and then come back and answer.
All right, so we're gonna, we've got a request to read through all of them and then we'll circle back to each one individually. Second one is the proposed zoning amendment does or does not reflect the most desirable use for which the land in the district is adapted in the following particulars. Number 3 is the proposed zoning amendment will or will not adversely affect the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction in the following particulars. Number 4 is the zoning amendment will or will not be in violation of or contravene the purposes of the comprehensive plan of Attica, Indiana, in the following particulars. So those are the 4 criteria for the recommendation.
I make a motion on number 1, the proposed zoning amendment be that it will adversely affect the current condition because it changes the zoning completely if we accept this. So it will change it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Why does it have to have the word adversely? I mean,
There's
just
just
will
changing
change.
it. It just,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, we're not putting an opinion in there. Whether it's,
I mean, you could say, I'm going to use a project outside of this, just for example purposes. So if somebody was going to, big one that comes up, battery storage centers, for example, will or will not adversely affect the character. So an adverse effect might be a groundwater contamination. That would be something, that's an extreme example, but that would be something that would adversely affect the character of the surrounding neighborhood. Does that make sense? Or if
Yeah.
somebody put in like a steel mill or a data center, for example, where the elementary school was.
so am I interpreting this correct when you say, you're saying it will adversely, adversely is a negative adjective, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And the reason why I'm saying it will adversely affect it is because by changing it from residential school to business / residential, then that changes noise, it changes traffic, it changes a lot. So it will adversly affect it. That's the way I see it.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table. Is there a second? You can also make
I'll
different
second
motions.
that.
You want a second that?
Yep.
All right, there's a motion on the table that it will adversely affect the current conditions and characters of structures and uses in the district. That's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
No.
No?
So we are.
So what's that, 2 to 3?
2 to 3.
3 to 2.
All right, is there a revised motion on the table that it will not adversely affect the current conditions and characters of structures in the district?
I'll second that.
Any details you'd like to forward on this?
I've been in situations where zoning has changed and people were afraid that it was going to negatively affect their area, and that did not come to pass. That's been my experience. So I think just because you're changing from one to the other does not necessarily mean there's going to be a negative impact. I live next to a halfway house, and people were against that. It did not negatively affect my home property, the value, or the neighborhood. There's other situations when this wasn't necessarily living in Attica, but I've lived other places too, but it did not negatively affect. And I think the main thing that drove that is people were afraid that it would. They were afraid that, the worst case scenario would happen. And so that's why I'm saying will not, based on my personal experiences.
All those in favor of a will not adversely affect, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? 3-2, we'll move on to the next one. The proposed zoning amendment does or does not reflect the most desirable use for which the land in the district is adapted. In the following particulars.
I see it, I think it's desirable because
Would it be possible for these discussions to be louder so we can hear
We're really not sure how that first vote.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on. There's a lot of talking back here in the back, and I can't hear what they're saying because they're talking.
All right, on the first one, the proposed zoning amendment will or will not adversely affect the current conditions and characters of structures and uses in the districts. There needs to be a motion that it will adversely affect the current conditions and character of structures. Eric seconded. That was put up for a vote. It failed at 2, saying that it will, and 3 saying that it will not. Tom then made a motion that it will not negatively affect the conditions and characters of structures and uses in each district. Paul seconded. That was put up for a vote. It passed 3-2.
The second one, do you guys know what the second one is, what we're voting on?
Certainly.
Would you like it read?
Second one, the proposed zoning amendment does or does not reflect the most desirable use for which the land in the district is adapted.
I say it's desirable because when someone from the community is taking charge of it, then we know what's going to happen. I mean, we can look at the buildings on Perry Street that were torn down because of distant owners who didn't take care of it. At least we can see, we know where Kyle lives.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I propose that it does reflect the most desirable use.
No.
You'll second? All right, there's a motion on the table that the proposed zoning amendment does reflect the most desirable use for which the land in the district is adapted. Paula's made a motion, Tom seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 5-0. That one's gonna pass. All right, we'll move on to the third one. We're good on 1 and 2. The proposed zoning amendment will or will not adversely affect the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction.
Do we know, can we know this for sure? Are we talking about property?
Okay.
It's speculative. I personally am saying, I do not believe that will adversely affect the conservation of property values. I think there's other things that we have to contend in our community that's lowering your property values. When we become individualistic and don't work with our community, and we have people moving in, not taking care of their property, even in residential areas, and everybody thinks residential is sacred, and I live in a residential neighborhood. But that depends on who lives next door to me. And if you treat your property like a junkyard, everybody's value is going to go down. And so just saying because that's going to change, that it's going to go down, I don't believe that it will. I have not seen that go down. I lived across from a gas station. You know, my property value did not go down. There's people on Jackson Street, you know, and their property value has not gone down because they live on Jackson Street. Mr. Haley, is that?
He was consulting Siri, I think.
All right, Cindy, is that a motion that it will
It is-
not
Will
adversely?
not. That's a motion, yeah.
And I'll second.
All right, there's a motion on the table that it will not adversely affect property values. Tom seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Last one, the proposed zoning amendment will or will not be in violation of or contravene the purposes of the comprehensive plan of Attica, Indiana.
Being that it is even, there is nothing in the comprehensive plan about the property because it was still the school at the time that the comprehensive plan was done, there's no way that it can be a violation or not, it can't be either.
Either one.
Because it was never even part of the comprehensive plan.
I think you guys could do a no finding on this one if you wanted to, since it wasn't accounted for in the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Who motioned it?
Tom did.
Tom.
So that last one, there was no finding made because it was never anticipated in the comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan, if you haven't been to one of these radios before, is a city does a plan and it kind of lays out where the city's going for the next 20 years. It's kind of the goal. And so in theory, when we do rezonings or special exceptions, the plan commission takes the comprehensive plan into consideration and you're trying to follow the comprehensive plan. And so, for example, I mean, a lot of comprehensive plans say they want to grow residential housing. And so the city would be probably going against the comprehensive plan if they bulldozed a lot of the residential housing and turned it into like a park or something like that. That would be the opposite of what we're shooting for. Any questions on the findings? At this time, we're going to make a vote on whether there's a favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation to be made to the city council. Is there a motion on the table
I
for,
have a question.
Yes.
The second one, how many did you have down on that? Should have been 4-1.
on the second one?
Mhm.
I had 5 Who,
It's 4-1, me.
you objected?
I don't think she saw your objection. I don't think she.
I didn't say your hand, I'm sorry. Okay. So anybody want to make a favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation to the council?
Can I say something about the reverter now? Can I even do that?
I mean, you can mention it, sure.
Okay, I just want to mention this. It's Kyle. I'm very appreciative of neighborhoods and where we live. And I'm a risk taker, but I also like to have a backup plan. And if for any reason, this went south and, you had to walk away for whatever reason at all. If that property stood vacant with no business in there, nothing, for like a year, there's a thing called reverter. And if you make a motion for it to go in to be approving your request, if nothing's in there for over a year, and I don't mean working, but you establish the business it's going, okay? Then it reverts back because it's an empty property. I do not want us to get in a situation where we have a property that burns down and it is sold and we have a used car lot across the street from you. I don't want to see that. So I am concerned about that, and that's why I would like to have a reverter. It does not mean that the girls couldn't still sell that. You can still sell that. Just like when your dad, that person could come in and say, I want to rezone it, and that's still an option. We're still here. But for that just to sit empty and sell it to somebody that's going to put in a junkyard because it's rated business, I don't want that. And that's what I'm saying to the people in the neighborhood. I appreciate where they're coming from. I'm going to make the recommendation that we move forward with this, a favorable motion.
I'll second that.
And I just want to say that, I said this to Kyle. I said, it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't know.
Yeah.
And Kyle has done the proof.
I heard her.
The proof is in the pudding. He puts out a good product. When you go through his houses out there at the Badland, he does good work. And if you haven't been out there, go see them. they're well maintained. His name is on that. He's going to be particular about that, of his name being on there and the girl's name being on there. I trust that he moves forward. And like I said, with that caveat of Cindy Mason likes reverter, I hear you. I hear you.
And just to clarify, for the reverter, that would be between the school corporation and the developer, between Kyle. The city, because it's not a deed from the city, so the city wouldn't be able to control that transfer. That's between the two parties that are doing this transaction. You can request it, but you don't have to do it just because.
Right, so can I ask a question, just so I can understand? So if it goes to favorable, the reverter does not have to happen. So if you voted favorable, she's requesting that she would like a reverter, but that does not mean.
Does not need to happen. Nope, it would be between the school.
But it would be passed on that this would be desirable for the community, that there's some guarantee that we can maintain. Yeah.
So it's more of like a preference and less of like a restrictive covenant. It's more of just a preference.
Thank you.
Okay, who seconded that? Okay. So there's a motion on the table to make a favorable recommendation to the Common Council of the City of Attica to approve the rezoning. Is there a second? And you seconded, and then we'll take it up for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One opposed.
Now what do we do?
Yeah, there's, okay, I guess. Is there a motion to end the meeting?
We will, this is just for the planning commission. We do have a meeting on Monday.
Okay.
Just a reminder, because we need to be talking about the zoning maps and stuff and where that contract stands.
Is it at 4 as usual?
Yes. Yes. Once again, people, thank you. Thanks everybody for coming. This has not been easy for any of us. So I hope you realize that.
And make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Motion to adjourn. Second.
Heard that.
All in favor?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
Thanks for being the gavel operator. You have a license, Doc?
Like you all tonight, but about, I don't know, a decade ago or so, I was on chemo for about 6 months. I go sit for all day and wear, have chemo, and I wore a pump home for 2 days. I did this for 6 months. And I was single at the time. So I'm still trying to teach. I don't know. You probably already asked.
Do I need to do this?
So I was doing it from June until December 23rd was my last day. Now, he seems to be kind of purposefully vague about what he's going to do with the golf course. And I'm right on the edge of the golf course. The football field. I don't mean to be emotional, but I was so ill. Regular medicine didn't help my aunt. The doctor had